This video is made for adult collectors because Cosmos turns into... That's a disguise, apparently. Cosmos, Cosmos, Blue Cosmos, Dead Cosmos, and a space shuttle. An Armada wheeljack. Cosmos, the lovable round spaceship character who picked a disguise that isn't a disguise at all, and he already sucks at his job, but we'll gloss over that. He's had a healthy amount of toys in the Generations line over the years. The ones people kind of debated over? I don't know if the debate still exists, but back when the Legacy figure was revealed, I remember this debate happening. But who is the better Cosmos, Thrilling 30 or Legacy? Fortunately, I have two of each because they've had some interesting redecos over the years, and now they've package refreshed the hard-to-find Velocitron one and gave us it in blue. I wanted to sit down with this mold again and see if my opinions have changed or not. Because I remember not liking this as much as everybody else did. I enjoyed it, but not to its fullest. Now that's kind of changed though. This is Cosmos, Scrounge, and Pathfinder, who I'm so used to looking like this, but it's actually based off of this. Guess we'll start with the older one and work our way up. So Cosmos, I lost payload and I have a friend who's gonna be very upset at that fact. But yeah, Cosmos, there are two decos of the normal Cosmos, a dark green and a light one. This is the lighter one. And I really like this toy. It's a Legends toy I don't think I'll ever be able to part with. It's one of my favorites of all time. I love the stylization and the way the robot uses the alt mode parts, and yet you end up with such a clean robot still. His head is really tiny compared to the rest of the body, but it works for Cosmos, I think. Couple that with the nice paint all around this figure and you're left with just a banger robot. The yellow on the shoulders could have used an extra coat, and that's going to be a consistent Cosmos problem throughout this video. Mine also has like a slightly rinky-dinky shoulder, but Scrounge is perfectly fine. Scrounge was a harder to get figure because he was only available in the Combiner Wars Computron box set. Scrounge, for those who don't know, was a Marvel Comics character who showed up, rolled around, was friends with Blaster, met Straxus, and died. But I wanted a Scrounge so bad. I was willing to get the whole box set because Computron is my favorite combiner, but I really wanted just Scrounge from it. But now that they're doing like new combiners, I'll just wait for them to get to Computron. Scrounge has no mold changes apart from his head. A lot of people apparently seem to break, but he comes with a yellow payload who looks fugly, but it's also kind of funny. This mold is just great and I love it. So the new one had a lot to live up to, and first impressions were I do want to point out though that this is a technical marvel of sorts. Legacy Cosmos was planned to be an Origins Bumblebee partial, whom I've misplaced. I don't know where he went. He's in my wheeljack and I've lost both of them. But they were able to get a full new mold off of what is essentially a partials number of sprues and budget. So the fact that this exists at all is a pretty cool piece of engineering and finance management. It's a nerd thing, but I find that very interesting. Anyways, Cosmos, he's fun. My biggest issue was the shoulders on the first run. They were so loose on a lot of people's copies, mine included, because of how they just shoot a pin through really thin plastic. But it seems like this new package refresh and the Pathfinder one have fixed that issue because both those figures have completely fine shoulders, and I love to see that. I'm still not the biggest fan of the spiked backpack much, but the rest of the figure visually hits all the places I'd want for a Cosmos. The yellow paint though is still strange because it really needed a second coat, especially on the blue of Pathfinder, and it doesn't match the rest of the yellow of the figure. Cosmos just can't do yellow paint apparently, it's just hard. He comes with a gun that works for the character, but it also comes with a flag you can peg into the gun because in the Velocitron story he's like the finishing line guy or something. Pathfinder changes nothing but deco, but she still looks cool. So we got our two Cosmoses. Stop wobbling. We got our two Cosmoses here, and they're pretty good in posing. They're both like, they both show their age. This one definitely feels like a 2023-ish toy, and this feels like a 2013 actually, 2013 toy. But this is still pretty good. Actually, we'll start with the old one. The old one is still pretty good in its posing for a Legends toy. So the head can rotate. It only rotates about that far either way. I can't get it to go any further than this, and I'm not going to bother. Also, this plate just kind of wobbles a little bit that it's on. On Scrounge, it wobbles just a little bit more. It like clicks into place in certain angles and stuff. It's very strange, but it does wobble. These shoulders are on ball joints. They can do a full 360. They can go out about that far. If the hinge wasn't loose, it could go out a little bit further, but this hinge is a little bit loose. So that's as far as it goes out, which is a little unfortunate. When you point the arm this way, it only goes out that far. I wish there was a little bit more of a deeper cut up here to allow for a tiny bit more shoulder range. You do have a hinge back here, but that's more for transformation. You have a single jointed ball jointed elbow, so it also acts as a bicep swivel. Nothing at the fist. You do have a waist joint, which is very nice. Hips can go forward, they can go back, they can go in and out. You have a ball joint at the knee, so that's a thigh rotation as well. You have just a little under 90 degrees of bend at the knee. However, there is this secondary joint in here for the transformation, which means you can do this and get like a full sort of knee bend going. So you can actually get Cosmos into like a kneeling pose of sorts. See if we can get him into the Iron Man. You can get him into the Iron Man. That's really cool. The fact that you can do that on a friggin', what was this, $12 here at the time? That's awesome. Now, the new Cosmos, he fell flat on his face. The new Cosmos is pretty modern. You have your head, which is on a ball joint, and you get a lot of nice tilt out of that. It is a weird shape, but it's still grippy enough to rotate, which I like. You can look down that far and you can look up that far, which I think the head's got a very nice range of motion given its shape. The shoulders can do a full 360. They can go in and out, and as I said, it's not loose anymore. I love that. You do have a bicep rotation and 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. And one of the things I pointed out in my original video of this guy, don't bend the elbow, then use the bicep swivel, because this is painted and it rubs up against here. Use the bicep swivel, then bend the elbow, because you don't want to scratch that off. Nothing at the wrists. The waist can rotate, which is great. You do have hip skirts that can move out of the way. Legs can go forward, back, in and out. Thigh rotation, stiff knee, like maybe a hair above 90 degrees of bend at the knee, and then you have an ankle tilt. So pretty modern posing, but like this one, all this one's missing between the two is a ball jointed head and an ankle tilt. He's still very posable. Mine just has a dinky shoulder, but Scrounge is fine. I love these two. They're great. So yeah, the modern one does change a lot, that it feels like a worthy upgrade in robot mode. So let's try them UFO modes. The UFO alt mode, goddamn. So their transformations are wildly different, like wildly different. So we'll start with the old one again. This one's pretty simple. So you take the legs and you collapse them in on themselves like that. Then you want to take the head and shove it in, and it'll just sit there. Fold up the backpack, rotate the waist. Then we're going to take the arms, bring them back here, and they will tab into the shoulders. Then this will slide underneath and just peg into that backpack there. Then you take the entire waist section, you bring it up. You bring the legs around like this, and they will sort of slot into these little tabs that are sticking out here. Just want to make sure all of that's lined up properly. And there you have Cosmos. Very, very simple and easy to do. I love flipping this back and forth. However, there's a bit of a problem, and it's not with Cosmos. It's with Scrounge. Because from what I've been told by many of my friends who have this or have had this figure, when you push the head in, there isn't that much of a grip to get it out. And you're like, oh, maybe you just used a little fin at the back, which you can, but then there's like barely any grip. And I've been told this fin likes to break because of this. It's not the strongest thing in the world. So what I've found out to do is tip him upside down and just sort of like squeeze the whole head and pull from the front rather than the back so that I don't break the fin off, and then just shimmy the head up. And that gets it out, because this one has like an actual finger slot to get in there and just like pull the whole thing out. But given the shape of this thing's head, it's just not there. So if you do buy Scrounge, please be careful with that little nub. Legacy Cosmos, as I said, is very different and feels like a deluxe transformation, which is awesome. So you fold the hands in, then you take the entire head, you rotate it around. So he's got a fake head right there. That's kind of funny. Then you unclip the shoulders, bring the backpack out, and then flip this over and rotate it around. Now, on Pathfinder, this worries me a little bit because you saw how you had to pull this out, right? Here on Pathfinder, her backpack, this is painted and it rubs up against this peg. Now I haven't seen any paint chipping, but it does scrape that peg as it comes out. So that's a little bit worrisome to me. I don't know how that's gonna last over the years, but on Cosmos, it's not painted. Then you wanna take the feet, bring these forward like that, rotate this down. You wanna activate the ankle tilt, rotate, and then bring that down. Then you peg the feet together, detach the crotch, push this back and bring this up, and this will peg into the hip skirts. They'll sort of just hug the legs. Then you bring this section back here in, fold this, oops, the head's coming out. Fold this up, tab these into place here on either side. Make sure everything is nice and lined up. And there you have that UFO. Very drastically different transformations. A bunch of little UFOs. or UAPs, is that what they call them now? I can't remember. I like these. Again, I really like the stylization of the Thrilling 31, the more flat and wider disc with the little points and the guns, and the boosters out the back. It's all just pretty clean all around. It's also a nice size, perfect for throwing at people. Please don't do that. The new one is more of your traditional goofy odd G1 design with a taller midsection and more stubby looking dish. Also pretty clean looking UFO, though this one is a little bit more of the yellow peeking out from the robot mode. Guns can store on the side with the flag, and payload can store at the front of the Thrilling 31. I'm putting it on the front of the Thrilling 30 and not Scrounge because I do not want to scratch Scrounge's paint. They do look like landmines though, that's pretty funny. While I still prefer the Thrilling 31, I like the stylization more. The new one is a pretty solid toy, especially this package refresh coming with shoulders that aren't loose. I've come around to it. It looks and feels great, and it's nice that you can now properly get one without going to eBay. You can just go to Walmart and buy it, or whatever else you have in your country that's not Walmart, and buy it. But which one do you prefer more? I'm curious. Let me know in the comments below. But that's been my look at Thrilling 30 and Legacy Cosmos. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.